Hi everybody, I'm Eric Naso with ericnaso.com, and today I have a new light from Aputure, and it's called the COB 120d. And what are we doing? Well, we're doing a review. That's what we're doing. So let's go ahead and get started. The Aputure COB 120d is a new style of LED called COB, which stands for Chip on Board. It looks like one big source, and in a way it is. Under the yellow cover is an array of tiny LEDs that make up the single source. Basically, a COB is an LED chip diode built directly on the circuit board. This is a huge advancement in LED technology that's allowing a whole new way to deliver light in a fixture. The Aputure COB 120d is the second light from Aputure with this style of chip on board. The first model was a tungsten model. Now you understand what a COB is, let's take a closer look at all the features on the 120d light. Aputure did a nice job designing the COB 120d fixture. It has a solid build with an all-aluminum body. The yoke locks down very tight. This is important because the fixture with a Bowens mount attached using accessories like big softboxes and umbrellas could have problems if the yoke doesn't lock down tight enough. The COB has a really nice fan, and it's really quiet too. I can't hear it. I recorded some audio and it wasn't a problem. It only comes on when it's needed, so it's not on all the time. The controller is separate from the light. You can attach it either on the yoke or the stand, using the tether that it comes with. The 120d uses a 4-pin power cable that attaches to the light. The other end that attaches to the controller is a locking limo. Nice and secure. On the controller is where you turn the light on and off and adjust the brightness. The advantage to this is if the light is over your head. Getting access is much easier if the controls are not on the light. The light comes with a short cord. This is getting very common these days, so I always buy longer ones from Amazon. Like this 25-foot model. It was only $8. Cheap and well worth it. It's nice and long, and I don't usually need to use an extension cord. Ah, that pesky power brick. To keep it from dragging on the floor, I use these very handy $18 Tether Tools Strap-More. Check out my full review here. You strap it on the stand and it stays off the floor. I haven't had one slide off yet. Oh man, it's so much better. You can power the COB 120d with V-mount or gold mount batteries. Word of warning on the amp requirements for the COB 120 line, you need to use a battery with at least 11 amps. I got 1 hour and 10 minutes of runtime with this 160 watt battery. Not bad. Like a lot of Aputure lights, the COB 120d comes with a wireless remote. If you have several Aputure lights that use the wireless remote, you can control them all with just one. One thing to know, the light has to be manually powered on first before you can control the fixture with the remote. Then you can increase and decrease the output and turn it off and on. The Bowens mount is very flexible. You have a lot of options out there for modifiers from third-party vendors. The COB 120d comes with this one. I picked up a few to try out, like this snoot. It came with a mini grid to focus even more. I also tried out some barn doors. It works okay. Don't expect a nice cut like a Fresnel. This one came with a grid and some gels too. Speaking of Fresnels, Aputure has one for the 120 series lights. I wish they were able to send me one with this review unit, but they weren't ready yet. Hopefully they'll be ready as soon as the 120d starts shipping. And you bet when I get one, I'll definitely do a review. If you get the kit, it comes with a nice case. I think it's worth having. All the pieces fit nice and tight, but not much room for extras. Now I know this is what you've been waiting for. Just how bright is the Aputure COB 120d? So I decided to do a test. I took my Saconic meter, I set it up 10 feet away from the front of the fixture with the modifier attached, and I took some readings. And here are the results. The Aputure COB 120d from 10 feet was 58 foot candles. So to put the readings that I got in perspective, I also tested an ARRI 650 and a Lowell Omni, so that you get an idea of, well, what the foot candles of those lights are from the same 10-foot distance. From 10 feet, the ARRI 650 was 91 foot candles, and the Lowell Omni 500 watt is rated at 75 foot candles. Now, I know this is an unconventional test because these lights don't match, but the only reason why I did it is because people ask me all the time, how bright is that light? Well, I wanted to know how it compared to some traditional lights that I've been using forever. So that's the reason why I did this test. Now also keep in mind, if you're going to make those tungsten lights match daylight, you would have to use probably full CTB, and doing so would knock the output of those fixtures down by at least half. I don't have a color meter, unfortunately, but I did run some tests in a few different Kelvin settings with an A7R II. Since all cameras have a different color science, this really isn't the best way to do this, but I did find the color to be very good when I set the camera to 5900K and 6000K. So how does the Aputure COB 120d fare in the real world? Well, I tried it with my small Chimera box and with a Matthews Road Rack, a 24x36 diffusion, and I got some pretty good results. Here's a shoot I had in the studio where the location I placed the talent wasn't lit. The set was lit, but this location wasn't. I set up the Aputure 120d with a battery attached and placed it nice and high so I wouldn't get a nose flare. I was surprised how good it looked. I didn't have to add any more lights. I went with it. Another example is in this commercial shoot. Here I used Matthews Road Rags as a diffuser, along with several other lights. They all played really well together. Very cool. Well, we've come to the end of the review. The Aputure COB 120d is such a nice light. It has really good output, the color is really good, and I really like that very versatile Bowens mount. You can use so many different modifiers. If you found this review helpful, please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel. If you could, also support me by using the links in the description. Well, that's it. Hope to see you really soon on the next review. I'm Eric Naso, and happy shooting.